And we are live. Hello, my friends. We are here in the kitchen, and we're chatting it up and we're cooking it up. So, here in the kitchen of Ebony Ivy and Thyme, we are trying to live a healthier life and a healthier lifestyle. So, today in our kitchen, we are plant-based cooking. And I want you to think about some of the things that are involved in plant-based cooking. Now, plant-based doesn't mean that you have to really go totally radical and become a total vegan. You can back it up just a little bit and become more of a vegetarian, and there are just all kinds of different levels along the way. You can certainly opt to try to do at least 85% of your diet vegetable and get as many vegetables in as you possibly can. And then, of course, go to a more, if you're looking at a more traditional diet, then you're going to want a veggie load. What I call veggie load is that you're going to want to make sure that you have lots of vegetables as part of your diet. Now, today, because we know we've got sports events coming up very soon, we want to practice a dish that I'm going to take for Super Bowl. And I'm going to see, not going to say a word, and see if anyone notices the difference. So this recipe is my go-to recipe under normal circumstances when I'm using meat. But we're not going to use meat. We're going to substitute. We're going to add additional vegetables, and it's going to be delicious. So stay right there. I'm so glad to have you here in the kitchen. All right. Now, I'm eliminating the oil as much as possible. And in order to do that, what I'm going to do, I have a pot of very, very hot water here that I'm going to add to my skillet, to my brazier. So I've got about 2 cups of boiling hot water. I'm going to put my stove on high because I want that to come to a real hot boil while we're talking. Now, one of the things that has been interesting this weekend, I went to a women's function at church, and the questions that were being asked, I thought I answered because it may be that they're not the only ones with the questions. For one thing, how did I get started? When did I start? Is this something new? Well, to be honest with you, no, it's not new. And I have been attempting to get back to this for a while. Once upon a time, back in the day when I was still working, I went totally vegetarian and didn't let meat, fish, poultry, any of that touch my lips. And I really felt great. But back, if you can remember, back in the day, it was I thought, a little more difficult to really joyfully become a vegetarian. Not because the vegetables weren't there, it was just that there was a certain variety that wasn't so convenient. And so thinking about having to plan, and I mean, I do sit down and plan my meals. Now, before I can finish this, I'm going to add 1 whole onion. So we're adding that in. All of this is about to come to a boil in just a second. That's our onion. So we're going to get that in. I can hear it sizzling. I'm also going to add in, I love buying convenience again. I love buying those packages of peppers and onions, that combination. So we're going to add that in. This is 1 whole package of the peppers and onions. And we're going to give all this a good stir. Now, for the time being, I am trying my best to cut back on the salt because of the things that we eat. When we get too much salt, then that starts to cause problems with our blood pressure, hypertension. It just goes from one thing to another. So we're going to try to cut back on that. So, okay, I've got my seasoning vegetables down in there. So I'm going to let this start to boil while we talk. Now, so the question was, How do you get started? Well, for me, initially, I started just a couple of meals per week where I would, and because I was cooking for everybody, and I had little people at that point. So I had to find a way of being able to prepare the meal so that the little people in the family would still enjoy whatever it was that I was preparing. So I had some traditional dishes that I did, the vegetable soups. I tried to make sure I always had 2 to 3 vegetables at dinner and just trying to get those vegetables in. I would hide the whole grain. So when I would fix like cookies or brownies, I would load up certain vegetables in the background. And I figured out that I could use baby food and like baby food, baby puree, the carrots or the applesauce, those kind of things I could use in the brownies. Nobody noticed and nobody tasted it, but it was in the background and I used it in place of oil. So I kept the balance the way it was supposed to be. So that worked out. So I found little ways of being able to add more vegetables into their diet. But here's the interesting thing. After a while, because I really was busy with work and my job as a teacher, I had to bring the papers home, check the papers. And some years I only had 150 students. And some years I had 300, just depended on what the situation was at that particular time. So when you have that going on, you don't have a lot of time to plan. And I didn't have a lot of time necessarily to prep. So it was nothing for me to open up a can of vegetables, and throw it in the microwave, heat it up, and that's what I ate. That got boring after a while. So once I had more time on my hands, then I could start really looking at the diet and what needed to go in. Now, of course, at this point, I don't have the little people here. I have the big guy. And I'm not sure who's the toughest to satisfy, whether it's going to be the children or whether it's going to be the adult. At this point, I think probably my kids as adults would be so much easier to feed over my husband. Now, my daughter and I are right in the same boat. We are all about the vegetables, and we always have been. But my hard time, I really love salads, and I will fix a variety of salads and have salad every day. But when it's cold, I just can't seem to wrap my brain around a cold salad. And so I try to make that cold salad appear here in in a bowl or in some type of stew or whatever it is. And I put a lot of those salad vegetables into what I'm cooking. Now I added in the whole onion. I added in half a bag of the pepper mixture that you get. You can get it at Kroger's. You can get it at just about any grocery store today. They have made it so convenient to be able to cook your vegetables. Now, in addition to this, I'm going to add in a can, and this is a pretty large can. This is a 7-ounce can, which most of the time you see the 4-ounce cans. So this is a 7-ounce can of green chili. The tomatoes that I added were fire roasted tomatoes. And I just happened upon them a couple of days ago. I knew they had them in the freezer section, but and they have been going like hotcakes, those freezer fire roasted tomatoes and corn. But finding them on the shelf was not always as easy. So I am so thankful that now I know that if I don't find them there, I can certainly keep them in my pantry now and have them whenever I wanted to. Now, chili for Super Bowl is one of those dishes that we always have. And and that we love. Now I'm going to cut the fire down just a little bit because I'm going to start to add in some beans. Now it just so happens, we're trying to use up what we have in our pantry, and or at least those things that are back in the pantry that have those short dates. So I found that I still have 1 can of chili beans. So that's going to be the first bean that I put in today. Is a can of chili beans, and it is strictly vegetarian. All it has is a little bit of tomato sauce in the background and some chili seasoning. The next thing I'm going to add are garbanzo beans, which as we add these beans and the other flavors, you're going to find that these are going to just add a good texture, a good color. All of this is going to come together. So now, garbanzo beans, because, it's all about trying to get our proteins in as well. And each of these beans is going to add a different level of nutrition for us. So variety is key. And I think variety is key when in the eye of the beholder. When you're looking at the dish, you want a variety. You want color. You want it to taste good. So when we start to add the seasonings, we're going to make sure that, because we know at this point, especially those of us who are seasoned cooks, we know what the flavor is that our family's usually looking for. And so that's where, as the home cook, because I'm trying to take the family forward to a more plant-based situation, I want to make sure that what I'm giving them is going to taste the way they're expecting. All right, so now we have black beans. We're going to add 1 can of rinsed black beans. All of these beans, except for the chili beans, have been rinsed. The garbanzos were rinsed. The chili beans, I left them in their juice purposely. But the garbanzos, the red kidney beans, all of those are going to be delicious. Now, I have a plain can of little small red kidney beans that I'm going to add in, because this is one of those situations where you're going to a Super Bowl game, and you're going to watch the Super Bowl at someone's house or at your house. Then you want to make sure that whatever it is that you have is substantial. Don't take a little dish that's about this size and say, well, here's my dish that I'm contributing. Make sure that you take a dish that's large enough that if everybody in that house likes it, they can have some. So here we've got all of our beans in. Now, let's give all of this a good stir. I'm going to let it start to bubble. And I just realized, I thought I had everything here, but I forgot the corn. So I'm going to go get the corn. Hold on. Okay. Now, I have I'm going to use my whole kernel fire roasted corn. And I'm using fire roasted, fire roasted tomatoes, fire roasted corn. And I'm adding those because I want that extra depth of flavor that's going to be in there. And I know you're thinking, chili with corn? Yes. Remember, this is a vegetarian chili, and we are trying to get as much nutrition in as possible. Now, if you opt to leave out the corn, that is certainly up to you. But corn is going in because, remember, I want lots of color and lots of flavor. So there's my Del Monte, is who has that really nice fire roasted corn. And it's delicious and it smells good. So we're going to mix that. Now notice, I have, other than that little bit of water that we put in at the beginning, I haven't added any liquid. Now, obviously, this is going to serve us more than one night because I'm kind of putting this together. We're going to have it a couple of nights this week, and then I'll know exactly when it's time for Super Bowl what to take. Now, let's get into the seasonings. We're going to add some garlic, and I'm using minced garlic. I'm going to put in a heaping 2 teaspoons of minced garlic. Okay, there's our heaping teaspoon, and I think I'm going to have to go. I had turned on my robot, and for some reason or other, he started up again. I'm listening, going, what in the world? Why is he coming? Why is he keeping up so much noise? So I hope it's not interfering with you. All right, we need chili powder. Now, our chili powder, we're going to have to play with the volume. I know this is 1 heaping teaspoon. I know that's not going to be enough, not for all of this. 2, and I'm actually going to put in a 3rd one because I just know that's about how many that I put in. And when you buy those little packets of chili mix, look at it, measure it, so you will have an idea. And that's just for one little pot of chili. So when you're making a batch of chili, which is what I'm doing today, I'm putting together a batch of chili. So because of that, let me go turn. Okay, guys. What a mess. I don't know what happened there. All of a sudden we were, and then we weren't. And that's the first time I've really had StreamYard to do that. And it just continued to spin. But I waited for you. I didn't want you to miss anything. So we're back. And, I added in the chili powder. So I added in about 2.5 teaspoons of chili powder. And, we're going to start less now and add more later. Thank you so much for coming back. Now, I'm also going to add in, can't believe it, I'm also going to add some house seasoning, just a teaspoon of house seasoning, just because it has a little bit of onion powder, it has the garlic powder, and of course has black pepper, all of which we need. So we've got that in, because our chili has to taste good. Now, I'm going to also put in some smoky paprika. Smoky flavors are something that you definitely want. And when you buy a chili mix, smoky paprika is usually in it. So I had a teaspoon of smoky paprika. So we got lots of smokiness that we're putting in. I'm also going to add just a little bit of oregano. And I'm going to add about a half teaspoon, and I'm going to rub it in my hands just to break it up. A good rub. Okay, so there's our oregano, and we're going to get all of that because we do need, with all these beans, we have to make sure that we're stirring. Now, let me just say, can you put all of this together and put it into a crock pot or an Instapot and cook it that way? Yes, but that wouldn't have been nearly as much fun as all of us being right here in the kitchen and doing it together. You can see it's pretty juicy at this point. And so that was the oregano. What I have not added, and if you prepare chili, you are going to want to have this in your chili, and that is cumin. Cumin is an absolute must for chili. Now, I like cumin. I like it just adds that depth of flavor that chili needs. So this is 1 heaping teaspoon of cumin, and I'm going to add 1 more. So there's 2 heaping teaspoons of cumin. Cumin gives the chili its real chili taste. And so often, I'm sure you've gone somewhere for chili, and whether it's at someone's house, and perhaps they didn't have any cumin and they didn't add it to their chili, and you're thinking, oh, this is good, but it's missing something. Well, guess what? It was probably missing the cumin, because cumin has a unique flavor, and it is something that's really used a lot in Western cooking. And this is kind of a Western dish. Now, what I am going to do, I have a piece of box of vegetable stock that I'm going to add because I need for these beans to cook. So I'm going to add, it's about half a box. And this has, let me see, it's a quart, so half of a quart, about a pint of juice went in, a vegetable stock went in. So we're going to add that because chili needs to cook. And I'm not going to eat this early. We're going to eat this probably for dinner. And it gives it that certain soupiness, which you like the soupiness, but you want those beans to cook. And beans need liquid. All right, so we have the chili powder. We've got the oregano. We have the cumin in our mix. We also had the minced garlic. Remember, we put that in as well. We also put in the smoked paprika. Yes, all of these flavors need to be in there for it to be good. Now, girls and guys, I'm going to add something that is totally optional. I am going to add a little bit of red pepper flakes because we like ours a little spicy. So I'm going to put those, just a little pinch of red pepper flakes in there, just to add a bit of heat. Now, everyone can handle the heat. And I'm going to add a dash of cayenne. Now, that's my option for our family because I know that's what they like. All right, you saw that. That was it. That was it. Just that little dash. Now, one more thing, and this is my secret that I'm sharing with you today. When you're cooking a dish that is like this, and sometimes we add sugar to things. Well, I don't want to add any brown sugar or anything like that, but I do like a depth of tomato flavor, and I don't want it to have a bitter taste. So I'm going to add about a fourth cup of tomato ketchup. So I'm going to put that in. And that's going to do two things. That's going to take the place of feeling like you need to add some tomato paste. That is my substitute for the tomato paste. And I try to buy a vegan tomato sauce, ketchup, so that I have that here in the kitchen. Now, I can say for those of you who are starting your plant-based journey, your kitchen is going to change. The things that you normally might be your go-to thing when you start to order groceries or pick up groceries, a lot of those things you won't even pick up and won't even think about when you're doing your shopping because you don't need those things anymore. And so, those things that you just had to have in a more meat-based diet, you won't need those. So for a while, in talking about my plant-based journey, for a while, I had to have some of both, which was really tough because I was cooking meat for the big guy and then having a more plant-based diet for me. And in fact, totally plant-based. But then after a while, he was able to taste what I had and was able to find that he was being filled up and didn't really have a need for the meat. Now, I will say this. I will say that for those of you who know him, And I know some of you do. But, he is a meat guy. He likes his meat. He likes an occasional steak. He loves fish and seafood. Now, fish and seafood, I'm good with. I could handle that. I don't mind preparing that. But as far as beef, I could certainly eliminate the chicken, but I'm gonna tell you, I got chicken out there in the freezer, so that's gonna have to be taken care of. So what I've started to do is that I rotate. So as I'm rotating things out, this is what I've been doing over the past couple of months. I've been rotating certain types of meat out and they get used and I don't replace them. So you don't replace those items. So now you can see that this really looks like that pot of chili that you might want to have for Super Bowl. And this is going to be delicious. So there we go. It's nice and hearty. And served with some corn chips or with some crackers or with some cornbread. Oh my goodness. Now, the reason why this is going to need to cook for a little while, I'm going to give it at least an hour to simmer here on the stove. And the reason for that, I'm going to put it on a low simmer, and I want it to simmer because I want those beans to be a little soft. And I want some of those beans to just kind of break up and start to add some of their starches to the soup here. So we've got our everything in, and I'll post the recipe and any additional things that I've added into it. And so we've got everything in that we need. Now we need to do our early taste. Oh man, that's just right. That is just right. Ooh, one more time. Okay, that's delicious. Now, it may be that for your family that you may need to add a half teaspoon of salt just to bring out even more flavors because that's what salt will do. But for us right now, I'm not doing that. And so you notice no oil and whatever was in our vegan tomato ketchup. That's what's in here. So we're just giving all of this a stir and keeping it moving because we don't want our mixture to stick. So this is a delicious pot of chili. And like I said, we're going to let it cook and let it cook down. So that's going to be delicious. Absolutely delicious. I appreciate those of you who have come in because we had a little glitch with my streaming service and got kicked off for a minute. And I was trying to figure it out. Denise was so good. Thank you, Denise. Was so good in calling me and trying to help me get back on because what a mess. Who does that? So I will have to do some work in the background and probably reload this video in the next few days so that we can get this all done and it's in one good place because what I'm hoping is that you're going to prepare this vegetarian chili and take it to your Super Bowl party and just you won't want anybody to know what you've done. Now, the one thing I have not added in, and this is optional, I like using the tofu crumbles. And so I am going to add my bag of tofu crumbles. And this is a 12-ounce bag. I found that you could actually get them in a variety. And since I have been picking them up, I found out how to make my own. So I haven't done a video on it yet, but that's going to be coming where you got to learn how to do your own because you may not always be able to find certain items that you need. And I think that's why I got sidetracked when I was years ago when I was trying to adapt a more vegetarian lifestyle. I really did get sidetracked because there were just certain things that weren't available, not easily available anyway. And some things on YouTube weren't there, and so there were just some things I hadn't learned. So here we go. Now, I'm going to try to bring you in closer so you can see this chili. And you tell me, how nice is that? Now, all of this is going to cook for an hour. These flavors are going to have a chance to go through our dish, and we're going to serve it with some cut scallions and I may even add a little sour cream on top, but the sour cream is going to be plant-based. So that's going to be a part of what we do. I went shopping the other day and I'm going to share this with you. So we're going to walk away from the stove for just a minute. But as we're thinking about our plant-based journey and taking a look at some of the things that we do, I think I can bring you over here and it's not going to be too much light. But as we're thinking about our plant-based journey, we have to look at what's available. That's the big thing. What is available for us to use? And what do we have in our kitchen, that we can use? And, I have to say that I found that there are certain flavors that I just have to have. And for those of you who watched this weekend, I did the cauliflower wangs, and they were so good. And I had them at somebody else's house, and they just fixed them. They aren't vegetarian. There was nothing about that. They just thought they looked cute, and they did them, and they were delicious. But that's been about a year or so ago. And I thought, I think I'm going to try that. And now that we have air fryers and we have air fryers, I've got air fryer in my stove. And so those are things that we can do. We can, and it doesn't take long. Let me add that. It does not take long to do. It's just a matter of getting the cauliflower cut up, making your batter, and then you're able to put that together. And even the big guy, as finicky as he can be, even he liked it. And so that was something that you just have to try things. The only way that I have ever had cauliflower that I liked was that my mom would steam a nice head of cauliflower, and she would make this delicious cheese sauce, and we put the cheese sauce over the cauliflower. That was the only way I would even touch it as a kid, and it had to have cheese sauce. But it's something that we have to think about. We've got to think about who's in the household, what will they and won't they eat, um, because like me, as a kid, I was a little finicky. I wouldn't touch a black bean. Wasn't too particular about kidney beans, and so, you know, our children, as because if they're little, we can start to add some of these things into the things that they like, and they will eat them. They'll eat them because everybody else is eating them, and it tastes good. So the key is it must taste good. And I never, ever thought that the big guy would actually buy into my plant-based lifestyle because he didn't back in the day. It was like, uh-uh. And so now, he likes it. Um, I think once we get out of the month of January, I'll probably have fish on Friday, which that will satisfy his need for poultry. I mean, for fish or seafood and whatever the seafood is. And he loves, like me, loves chicken wings. And so I will probably occasionally add the chicken wings to the menu selection. So we do. He likes shrimp, and I'm looking at some of you and some of the things you like. Uh, rice, loves potatoes, all those things. So, we do what we have to do to feed our family. And then on the side, if you're like me as a home cook, we feed the family first. And then we try to add in those additional things that we want or we really need for ourselves. So, I have found that if I kick up the vegetables, which he likes, I could have 5 vegetables in the evening. He loves salads, those kind of things. And as long as I have a little touch of something protein, then he's okay. But this month, he has been able to see that he really has not missed the meat. And that is certainly an accomplishment. But I think it's because of the variety. So let me see what you all are saying. I'm going to try to get you where I can click you in because you all have been talking a lot. Uh, Denise said, you like that smoky paprika. And yes, it does. It adds a great flavor. Now, I have regular paprika, Denise, but that smoky paprika for things like taco, for chili, you definitely want that smokiness. And that's another reason why I try to go with fire roasted vegetables because that's going to add a certain level of smokiness as well. Because, things like chili came from back in the day when the cowboys were out there. I won't say that they were necessarily always really cooking it up, but chili started back in those days because they had beans, they might have some meat, and they started to prepare those types of dishes. And so the smokiness, because they were cooking over the fire, that smokiness came into their meal. So that's the reason for that. We want to add that smokiness. Nitty T said, let's see, where are we? Okay. Tutu Loves Minnie said she likes a few pinches of red pepper flake. I'm with you, girl. I got to have just a little bit of heat. And you know what? What's really funny is that I already know the big guy is going to have his bottle of Frank's hot sauce on the side. That's going to be a part of it. Because he says, I'm just not going to make mine quite as hot and spicy as he likes it. Now, Denise likes to add chili sauce, and I like that. I do like chili sauce as well. And it gives a depth of flavor and has a hint of sweetness. Yes, that's true. And nowadays you can get your chili sauce in so many different varieties. And so if you really want to become a really hard, fast vegan, you can find vegan chili sauce, and that's made with like date sugar and plant-based sweeteners so that you're staying in the lifestyle that you're trying to develop. Um, Tutu said she adds Heinz chili sauce too. And she said, just like her mom did in the 60s. Yeah, I don't know what it was about that chili sauce, but yeah, we did a lot of um, chili sauce back in the time. Remember our meatballs, when we fixed meatballs back in the day? You always had, when you went to something, there was always a crock pot full of delicious meatballs that is based with chili sauce. And you might see chili sauce, you might have some crushed pineapple in with those meatballs, or you might have some, I've even done it with whole cranberry sauce, put a can of that in with the chili sauce. And oh my goodness, they are so good. So that's something to think about too. Um, Natasha said that she and her family are on a plant-based journey also. Yay! And it is so healthy. And it's just, you find that they're going to eat well. Um, if they ask for seconds, you don't even think about it because you know that plant-based foods usually are far less in calories than the foods that we normally eat, all the junk foods and all the meats and those kind of things. They're usually higher in our calorie counts. So when you eliminate those, your calories are going to come down, but you also want to make sure that your family is full. And so I have no problem with, if the big guy wants 2 bowls or 3 bowls or whatever, it may be that he's decided that he's going to eat, then it's okay. Now, Nitty T said she doesn't have time to babysit the pot on the stove. So she says she usually transfers it to a crock pot on low. I'm with you, girl, because I wanted to do it here on the stove so you all could see it. But under normal circumstances, this baby would be in the crock pot because I want to just put it together, have it ready to go. So when I do this for Super Bowl, I will be taking it in a crock pot because of the fact, too, not only is it very convenient for me, but in transporting it to another location, it is just so much easier. And those new crock pots with all the little clamps on the side, you don't have to worry about all the spills. I have spilled a whole pot of chili in my trunk. And so that was with the old crock pots. So now with the newer crock pots, we don't have that to worry about. So because when you work and you have children, yeah, I understand. You don't have time to babysit. Now, Natasha said that she's just starting. And she said, pray for her. It's going to be hard letting go of chicken and turkey. I know. It is. It is. And, think about this, Natasha. It sounds like you may be kind of like me. I typically kind of go feet first. I mean, I'm in it. I'm in it to win it. And so when I say I'm eliminating, it's not going to cross my lips. That's the bottom line. And but I have gone through a period of where I was probably 90% vegetable based. And then I left the little 10% for those times when we went out to dinner and I might have fish or I might have something, a little piece of chicken, whatever it may be. But at this point, most restaurants, I can make requests. If I want a vegetable plate, they'll fix it. And it's not, really expensive. Everybody else can have what they want, but I get what I want. And I'm just as full as they are. So, yes, it does take a minute for you to be able to let go of your taste for chicken and turkey. And it's okay. And if you have a moment, a day where you're looking at, like in my husband's case, you're looking at those chicken wings and they are calling your name, have the chicken wings. Life's too long. Go ahead and have the chicken wings that day. And the next day, you're back on your plan. It's okay. We are living our life the best that we can. So every day is not going to be perfect. We want to get close, but it's not always going to be perfect. Ronnie said, is encouraging Natasha in that she will do great. She says she tries to eat plant-based, but it's tough because her husband wants meat at every meal. Ronnie, I know what you're saying. I have one who likes that meat too. Uh, so Ronnie said for dinner, she's making lasagna for her husband and fried shrimp with steamed rice. Oh, that sounds delicious. I can't say that too loud because the big guy might hear me because then he'll become, I want some shrimp too. And so I'm trying to get him at least through this month and then I'll probably fix him some. Um, her family thinks she's a short order cook. I love that. I love that. Emma said that she likes the idea of plant-based, but she's really not very keen on beans. And she said she loves her beef. Well, beans have their issues. And but what I have found is that there's certain beans that sometimes will affect the body. And as long as if I can combine the beans with rice or combine the beans with corn, then I don't have a negative reaction with those. And so that's a good thing because beans can cause a problem. And so I've gotten used to it. And now that I've really found, uh, I guess, my happy place with using tofu and being able to change tofu into what I want, then I'm okay. I can do without the beef, the chicken, and the turkey. I can do that. Ronnie said, she's laughing. Hold on. Uh, Emma said, it's a texture thing with beans that she really structures. Now, Emma, had you considered maybe using an immersion blender and maybe blending a portion of those once they cook down, nice and soft, then just use either an immersion blender or put a fork in there and just mush them up so that it becomes a part of the liquid and it releases its starches and it doesn't, you don't when you put it in your mouth, you don't have that bean feel. It just kind of floats to the background. And that's something to consider, to try that. And I do. I certainly uh I can remember the day when I didn't eat very many beans. And but now there's just so much. And I like canned beans to some extent because they break down faster. And I love lentils, but I like them better canned. And so, because I can put them in my dish, they will come together very quickly because I'm all about a fast and easy dish, putting it all together. So those are some of the things. Consider that. Uh, Being able to blend once those beans cook well. If you have a crock pot, let it cook in a crock pot. And then just before you start to actually serve it, mash those beans up, and make it a part of your soup that you're putting together. Now, Ronnie's saying that if you mash up the beans and put them on some fried corn tortillas, and then you have a chalupa. I like that. I like that. And I think I have some fried corn tortillas in my pantry. I might have to do a little bit of that tonight because with some of this, because it's going to taste awfully good. Now, girls, we have been going, and I really appreciate your coming to the kitchen today, in spite of our glitch with StreamYard. Oh my goodness, I can't believe it kicked me off and took me a minute to get back to you. But we are going to focus more on a healthier lifestyle. Now, if that means that for you, you need to have a little more balance. Now, it may, there are people out there who they can handle the vegetables, they can handle the fruits. We're going to talk about how much, everybody can take a lot of fruit. And some people who are, depending upon your type of diabetes, may find that a certain amount of beans may have to be limited, or a certain kind of bean, because every bean does not cause the same response. And so it may be that certain beans you may have to eliminate just because of your diet. And so, oh, thank you, Ronnie. Um, it may be because of that. So if that's the case, then make just a little tweak to what you're doing. We are going to be taking a look at, most people, you say, throw the tofu in, and all they can see is that white brick and going, ooh. But we're gonna take a look at tofu. We're gonna have a whole session on tofu and things that we can do with tofu. That because what tofu is, it basically is a sponge, and it takes the flavor of what's around it and what you cook it in. So for me, I used to struggle with tofu because I couldn't handle the big chunks until I realized that if I cook it and marinate it in a mixture, yes, it can be marinated just like you marinate your chicken, your turkey, your beef. You can marinate your tofu so that the tofu is kind of like mushrooms. It's going to start to take the flavors of what's around it. So we're going to do that. Now I'm going to go back over here because we need to give our chili a little stir. And I'm going to do just exactly what I think that Tasha says. I'm going to put it in a crock pot and let it finish up. It has gotten so nice and thick. We added in that pint of vegetable stock. And now that it's been cooking for a while, let me give it another taste. And like I said, if you need to add salt, certainly do that. Oh, oh, this is good. This is Super Bowl worthy. So I'm saying to you, if you're going to take it to Super Bowl and they're not familiar with a tofu consistency, because it has a consistency, leave the tofu out and just do everything else and just don't put in the crumbles. And if you're concerned about that, but otherwise, this is delicious. And I think your family, your guest, whomever it is, would really enjoy your chili. So, and plus, you don't have to tell them just how healthy the chili is going to be in the long run. So, we are ready. This is a nice batch. I'm going to let this continue to cook, and then I'm going to leave some out for the big guy and I, and for tonight's supper, and the rest is going to go in the freezer for another day. So we batch cook our vegetarian chili, so I have a night when I can just come in, heat it up, ready to go. And I have something nice and hot to warm up with this evening. So love, love, love to all of you. Thank you for coming to the kitchen. It's been fun. It is so much fun having you right here that I can chit chat with and cook with. So to all of you, have a wonderful afternoon and be blessed and safe. Much love. Take care. I'll see you next Monday. Ready to go.